At the London Design Summit from Ocasta Studios, I'm joined by Ben and Greg. Welcome to you.
Hello.
Hello. Well, you've got the mic, so tell me about your Virgin Media Retail Suite. Is that right?
App Suite.
Retail
so
App Suite. Okay.
We only came up with the name for the sake of this competition award. So
it's a very catchy short name. Yeah.
It's actually a suite of 3 different apps. There's one called the Retail Operations Manual, which sounds a bit dry, but it's an interesting way that lets the Virgin Media retail staff that work in the Virgin Media retail stores, we'll say VM from now on to make it a little bit easier. So what they can do is just hop onto their iPads at any time and reference a load of material. On top of that, we've got checklists and monthly reports they have to do all through it. The second one we've got is called VobServe. They have a concept called Voice of the Brand, and Voice of the Brand is about the customer experience and how the customer goes through the store and makes sure that the whole process is fitting into how Virgin want someone to feel when they come to visit them. And then the final one is Vitals, which is a nice little checklist tool for the RMs to go around and look at all of the stats and info of each place.
What's an RM?
A regional manager, sorry. we're too absorbed in the lingo. We've been working with Virgin for a couple of years now in the retail space.
Okay. Describe what it is like working with Virgin. What is it about that particular company in within the marketplace that makes them sort of forward-thinking, I suppose?
So they're quite unique in a retailer, whereas they don't have loads of stuff on the shelves. They're selling services. So their goal is to make the retail stores feel more like a living room. So you're buying TV, you're buying internet, you're buying a phone line. You don't want to be walking into a place with loads of desktop computers where people are referencing things. The operations manual that we made replaced a 300-page binder that they had quarterly. So it just gives it's so much easier to approach someone when they've got an iPad in their hand instead of a big IBM desktop computer whirling away.
And so how did you approach this task? Obviously you've made the app, so describe what you've done.
So this one in particular, the ROM app, the operations manual, they showed us the existing content they had, kind of how they wanted to structure it, and we worked with them to make a kind of content matrix, work out the hierarchy of the content, and then we put in the little tiled approach. Do you want to spin that round for everyone? Yep, there you go, lovely stuff. And from that you can just quickly tap into the main categories. They've got must-reads that can promote stuff. But yeah, when we first launched it was on the desktop and the web. The desktop and the iPad. And interestingly, the day it launched, about 60% of people were using the website and only 40% the app. But obviously we're trying to promote them to get off the desktops. But I ran the stats earlier and we're down to 15% on the desktop now.
So it's really changing the way that they're doing their business within the stores and elsewhere. Greg, one of the apps or one of the sections is called VobServe, and you worked on this. So tell me about this.
That's right. So this is about observing staff on the sales floor, what they're doing, how they're doing it, kind of rating them and giving feedback essentially to improve performance. So here we use a visual metaphor to drag magnets onto a ratings board. So it kind of almost gamifies the process, engages them, and it was replacing a very paper-based process before. So this is kind of quite engaging, very easy to use, quick to pick up, pause and pick up again on the sales floor where a lot of unpredictable things are happening. It's a very dynamic environment.
And so this is managers observing their staff. Is this how it works?
Right.
That sounds kind of scary. But so instead of making it kind of a really nerve-wracking experience...
So the idea is they can jump into any part of the sales journey very quickly. It doesn't have to be a full kind of big observation. But once a few observations have been completed, they work together with the sales exec on the shop floor to talk about what they should continue doing and begin doing. So for an example, it could be continued smiling when you greet customers, but you need to begin introducing yourself by name. So it's always about continually improving. And for Virgin, obviously, it's intense sales. It's all about sales, but operations is a necessity. So the suite of apps just streamlines that for them and makes them be able to hit their targets, which is, at the end of the day, what they want.
Is there anybody else out there within this field who's taking on these types of applications across the board? It's a pretty big step, I suppose.
Yeah. No, it's quite forward-thinking. Not many have taken the approach direct to the iPad. There's a few existing solutions where they'll show you a screenshot on their website of something in an iPad, but it will just be a website and it will be kind of all form-based, and we're trying to make things a bit more playful. For originally this one, Virgin were a bit hesitant to do the magnet approach. They thought it might be a bit too confusing and unintuitive, but we did some prototyping for them, which really relaxed them.
Okay, so you really had to work with them to sort of get them across the line. Although they were already ready to take on new ideas, you had to push them to try it out, really.
Absolutely, yes. And with this one here, the current approach they have is very before this launch was very text heavy, but obviously with text you can't do any data analysis on it and know what's happening, whereas we're about to kick off phase 2 of this in the new year, which can start mapping people together. So people that are particularly good in one area, you can then help them kind of teach each other within the company without having to get external training in to boost their skills in certain areas.
Okay, so in the past it was the big 300-page manual, which we've heard a bit about today. I've got to say, this Design Summit for a few different projects. Now adopting the iPad, you talked a little bit about where it might go in the future. Where else could this idea go? Will it be adopted by other organisations, do you think, this type of approach, do you think?
A lot of the stuff we've done is around checklists, which sounds a little dry, but it gives...
Oh, I love a checklist.
It gives head office a lot of visibility around what's happening. Beforehand, they have a daily checklist that has to be completed, but that was just a bit of paper on a wall. Obviously, you can quickly do a week's worth of daily checklists in 5 seconds as soon as someone from head office walks in. So with this approach, we lock it into certain times, so they have to do it at the right time, and anyone at head office can start seeing which stores need some help sooner rather than later. And just for us, it's a lot of it's visibility, just making sure that people in head office and the regional managers are aware of what's going on in their stores without having to be stood in them all the time.
Keep pushing.
Exactly.
Okay, from Ocasta Studios, the catchily titled Virgin Media Retail App Suite.
Beautiful.
It's good. Thank you to Ben Collier and Greg Marsh.
Thank you.